the monetization of transness in Hollywood. It's an interesting phenomenon, and I just want to talk about it. It's so interesting. We have Sam Smith, who is non-binary. We have Harry Styles, who is a straight, heterosexual, cis man, but he dresses in a way as though he supports the trans movement. He dresses in a gender bending way. So we have him. And before I even get into that, I can't talk about Harry Styles and the Grammys without talking about the fact that he won Album of the Year over some of the most popular artists in the world, who their music, like, I'm not saying he's not a popular artist, but I think that his music does not reach, the streams. I shouldn't just make that statement. I should actually look it up. But off the top of my head, I don't think he's getting the same kind of streams as Beyonce, as Lizzo, as some of these other artists. So to me, like, that I don't even know one of his songs, it's quite interesting to see that he's winning Album of the Year. Man, I can't access. Let me try and see history. But before I do that, you know what? Let me watch how people react to Harry Styles winning Album of the Year over Beyonce and everybody else. So let's check this out, right?
Girl, I'm about to get the fuck up.
Wait, let's
Get
talk.
the fuck out my mother's face. Get out of my face. Go that way. Go that way. Get the fuck out my mother's face. Get out of my face. Go that way. Go that way. Get the fuck out my mother's face. Get out of my face. Go out of here because, girl, I'm about to get the fuck up out of here because.
So Harry Styles won Album of the Year over Beyonce, Lizzo, Adele, and Mary J. Blige. Wow.
Have I not given everything? Have I not given everything?
Oh my God.
Do you remember?
I've been so inspired by every artist in this band. Beyonce! A lot of different times in my life.
Beyonce should have won!
Oh, this is another. Whoa. Look, the Beehive, they don't play. And so, I don't know, like, to me, it's just really interesting how there's this, it just seems like there is a funding and there's an agenda to fund, or to make sort of like the trans movement mainstream. And I have nothing against it. And I know people, if you're just catching up here, yes, I know he's not trans. Harry's not trans. However, he does dress in a gender bending way, right? And of course, we know he's non-binary, which is in the trans spectrum. So it's just, yeah. I mean, a lot of conservative media outraged by, Sam Smith, outraged by his performance, him mocking. They claim that he was mocking the Catholic Church. Quite extreme comments that are coming from the far right. I consider myself structurally liberal, so I'm very liberal, but at the same time, I would say I probably am more in the middle, more leaning towards, somewhere around the middle, but more on the liberal side, right? And I can say that it's very clear to me that there is an agenda and a funding of the trans movement. Now, trans visibility, non-binary visibility, it's all very important. Why is it important? I had this deep conversation with a friend of mine. Very important to not necessarily normalize it, but to teach tolerance and empathy. And that's kind of like the whole push that the trans movement has, or they say, the whole spiel that they make when they are promoting transness in the mass media. And it's necessary because people harass trans people. People are killing trans people. Like, their lives are just, endangered because they exist, just because they walk down the street, people attack them. So the more that we see these explicit representations of transness, the more it's normalized in society, and the less that people will attack them. So I understand that perspective, and I completely support that sort of perspective of showcasing the trans movement. That said, that for me, I feel as though there is this performative nature of it. And yes, media is about performance, and it's about, being over the top. And when you think about the whole trans movement and the inception of it, and you probably think about the drag shows, right? You probably think about these were places, and if so, drag queens are being more performative than, say, a Beyonce. Well, you bet your bottom dollar that if there's going to be a trans person that is in the mainstream media, they have to top every drag queen, because they have to be the ones, they're the showstoppers. They're the ones at the top. That's why we get the Lil Nas X's. That's why we get the Sam Smiths. And yes, they are not, well, what's his name? Lil Nas X has not come out as trans or non-binary, but he does definitely dress in a gender bending way. And all of that is understood. That, however, I think it's not, I think the performativeness of it is quite dangerous to it's not just dangerous to the trans community and the LGBTQIA community at large, but it's also dangerous. And I think that's exactly what it is. I think it's dangerous for them because it minimizes their existence down to their sex, and it objectifies them. So that's just, on this channel, I try not to get too much into that. That's for my other channel, Kenim O Show. So I'm not really going to delve deeper into that. Maybe I will on the Kenim O Show, but that is my take on this, right? And so now I'm talking about how it's being monetized in the media. And so you're seeing something that is, it's a characterization of femininity, the performativeness of it. So this characterization of femininity, and so that's now being packaged into entertainment, and not just, it's being specifically packaged into mass entertainment, and it's just kind of like, everybody take this. And now it's interesting to me, there's this complexity, because on one end, it's kind of like, I understand the importance of visibility and all these things, but on the other end, it's kind of like, at the same time, I understand when women, who are also marginalized, right, in society, especially compared to men, and women are being able to shine in those positions, and the people that are at the top of the trans movement are white men. How do I say? Okay, now they're not men anymore. They are trans women, right? But they were born white men. And so there's an interesting correlation there, because it's like they've transferred their supremacy into other genders. It's I think Pierce Morgan was talking about it, and he made very great points. And sometimes he's a tool, so sometimes he says some crazy stuff. But this is one of the points that he made that was really interesting to me. In the UK and the Brits, they kind of said, we can't have best female artists and best male artists. We have to think about the whole trans community. So let's just make it an umbrella thing and just best artists, right? So not only have you closed down the number of people that get to win an award, right? So you limit the amount of people, then you now make men and women compete with each other, because let's face it, trans people represent less than 1% of the population, maybe 1% of the population. That's a really small percentage. And there are other communities that I'm kind of like, it's a really small percentage to get this much policy, to have this much of a stronghold on policy making and system making. It's a little extreme to me, because there are other communities that don't get this. Like, look, when you think about the disabled community, which I don't know, but is a minority group also. They don't and I assume they're even a bigger community than the trans movement. They don't get nearly the same consideration as a trans movement. And I'm not saying this to put them against each other. I'm just saying this for reflection. The amount of representation the trans movement is getting it doesn't correlate with their numbers. And so for you to change a whole award and negate all the men and women because of 1% wants it to be, an umbrella term. And then in this situation, more men, because of sexism, more men end up getting nominated, I think in the UK, and end up probably winning. And then it now turns back into sexism. It's kind of wild. It's kind of wild. And so to that I say, why not have a trans award? Why umbrella everything? No, men, women, trans. And that just solves it. And that gives even more visibility to trans people. Because I loved it when, I saw in, if I play, the Sam Smith and this trans woman, they wanted a Grammy, the first trans woman to ever win a Grammy. Now, that's what you want more of. So why not create an award, for trans folk? Just like I think about Afrobeats, right? Afrobeats could have been squeezing their way into R&B, but no, R&B is for R&B, right? Even though a lot of Afrobeats sounds very similar to R&B, it wasn't like, okay, let's squeeze Burna Boy to win this No, they just said best international artist, and I think they're even making an R&B category, an Afrobeats category, right? So why not create a category for trans musicians and give more visibility to trans folk in that way? And that way it allows the fact that, this is such a huge deal that a trans woman wins this award, because trans people don't get jobs, like they're attacked in society, all these things. This is such a good thing, such a powerful moment. Why umbrella this situation, compete with men and women when you can compete with yourselves? Because you are most likely, you guys are most likely, I just think it just makes more sense to compete with yourselves. Like, and then you could have those arguments about the sports, like, oh, well, he's a trans man and he's a trans, should they be playing the same sports? As opposed to playing into white supremacy, and because it's just what it looks like on the outside, and to a very conservative person that is trying to brainwash everybody is, well, here's another white man that dresses as a woman and says, okay, well, now let me dominate womanhood. And that's what it looks like to a conservative person. So we just have to be very strategic about this. But I do have to say that it does, to me, look like there has been a packaging or an agenda in Hollywood, in the music industry, to promote and over-sexualize the trans movement. And it just seems to me like that award that Harry Styles won, he's not trans or anything, but he does dress in a gender-bending way. There's really nothing. And then he said people like me don't win. That was so crazy when he said that, because like people like you are always winning. What are you talking about? You're a white man. White heteronormative or white heterosexual cisgendered white man. Of course people like you win. But it's just interesting to me when it comes to him. I don't know. I just, at the end of the day, when it comes down to it, it's all very interesting. It's all kind of like, what do you say? Like, and at the same time, like, you have to be careful what you say because you get in trouble, you get canceled, which is kind of crazy. But at the end of the day, it's kind of like, I don't know, like, I'm not on the bandwagon 100%. Like, on my other channel, I'm going to break down what I really feel about it. But the way that it's being infected into, and being monetized in a way, I don't 100% align with it. And I don't say this, I'm liberal 100%. Every ounce of my body supports the LGBTQIA plus community. Every single ounce of my body is in line with the movement, but there's some things I just feel that I just don't align with, and it's the representation of the trans culture in media. And I think mainly because, and some people will say, oh, that's heteronormative, and that's a friend of mine was telling me something that I was like, sticking into you're aligning with the patriarchy and all that stuff, or it's like internalized transphobia, or like and it's homophobia, transphobia, it's all these things that they say. I guess on the surface, when you look at the word transphobia, you remove the hatred, which is what the word means, but like the actual transphobia, a phobia of transness, a fear, because they say all hatred stems from fear, a fear of transness. I could say, yeah, in society there is a mass fear of transness, and this is not helping, but it is exposing. It's helping, but it's not helping at the same time. But a lot of this is just really complex, and I don't support the way that they're going about it. I don't support the way that they're forcing people to accept it. I think that there's an agenda to force people to, not force, but to encourage people to be tolerant, and to lock people up that attack trans people, and to preserve trans lives. I support all those things, but the way that it's being indoctrinated into the media, and I don't even worry so much about it brainwashing kids, but I just wonder, what is the point of all of this? You know, what is the point of for me specifically, what is the point of the over sexualization of the femininity? That's the part to me, and the over performativeness of the femininity. That's the part to me that is borderline offensive, because this is not what femininity is. And it's almost like a hijacking of femininity and a characterization of femininity. I said that already. And so that's the part of it that I just cannot align with. And it's a poor representation to me of the trans movement. It minimizes everybody within the trans and LGBTQIA plus movement community, because it objectifies you. It reduces you to one thing, your sexuality, which is what I think the whole gay movement has been trying to fight against. Because when someone says they're gay, the first thing anyone thinks is about how you have sex, which is no one's business. But what is happening with the trans movement, which has nothing to do with sex, which is ironic, and everything to do just with gender identity, but that now they're over sexualizing transness. And it's interesting because then you lump everybody together, because you watch people and they interchange sexuality and gender. Like Piers Morgan was saying, you know, he was interchanging it. A lot of people, they interchange it and they think it's all under the same umbrella. It's the same thing. It's not the same thing at all. You know, like one of them is your sexuality and the other one is your gender identity. So it's a completely different thing. But what I have difficulty with is how this movement is being used to not only diminish the people in the community, especially those in the umbrella that don't necessarily align with, the full scope of the umbrella, but more importantly, it's just such a poor representation of femininity. And that's my whole spiel. And do I align with how Hollywood has an agenda right now to push this out in the media? They have new agendas, they have trends, and they're going to change it up in who knows when. They're capitalizing on this trend right now, this moment right now. They know they're going to get eyeballs, they know they're going to get attention. And so this is the this is the tune of the season. Then when you have Harry Styles, in this dress code, to wear whatever you want to wear. That's like, yeah, sure. And it's so interesting to me. It's just, to me, with him, it's just so interesting because, like, this is like, he's this like former heartthrob, like typical man's man, and it makes sense in media, in music. You have to rebrand every artist in a way that they don't, like, how can you make Harry Styles not compete with all the other One Directioners, or even Justin Bieber, or every other male singer, or Shawn Mendes, right? You do this, you brand him in this way. To me, when I see him wearing this, I don't think it's, to me, it looks like somebody forced him to wear this. It doesn't look, I do not for a second believe that he chose to get out of his house like this. To me, there's an agenda being pushed, and they told them, you have to do this because it's going to sell tickets. We're going to make money if you do this. You're going to sell albums. You're going to sell concert seats. You're going to get attention. You're going to stay relevant. So you need to wear this dress. You need to put out your titties and smile like a woman. That's what I see. And to me, it's just a lot. To me, I feel it lacks authenticity. And that's probably the foundation of my rejection of it all. It just lacks authenticity. It just is so performative. It's so much of an attention-seeking thing. And then it's packaged as something that we are supposed to accept. And if we don't accept it, well, you're going to get canceled. And it's the end of the world for you. And I don't support that. I don't. Anyway, those are my thoughts. Let me know your thoughts. Very controversial video for this channel. But I'm curious to know if you guys, like, what are your thoughts on this? I mean, when I started out this channel, it was way more controversial. But I moved away. I moved all my controversial stuff to the Kenim O show. Trying to keep this channel PG. But this is a conversation that must be had. It's because we're seeing it in media. The media is so influential and affects the way that we live our lives, infects and affects the way that we live our lives. But let me know your thoughts. Leave a comment down below. Don't forget to like, follow, subscribe, all the above. Before I go, guys, I have to tell you about my app, RaeTheAI. Guys, go follow RaeTheAI on Instagram at RaeTheAI. And Rae is your writing assistant on the go. Let me show you Rae right quick. She's your writing assistant on the go. You might have noticed she's changed race. Ooh, you might have noticed she's changed races. You saw her in another thing. You saw her on another video and she was white. Now she's black. Tomorrow she might be a man. The next day she might be Asian. Hey. So this is RaeTheAI. She's your on the go writing assistant, just like ChatGPT. But she's more accessible because, ChatGPT, there's so many users these days. You go on, sometimes you can't have access for hours and you need the service now. Well, you could go to RaeTheAI. She's available and you can hit her up on Instagram. You can actually start DMing her and start asking questions immediately. You can hit her up on WhatsApp. You can hit her up on Facebook Messenger. You can hit her up on our own Rae Messenger, our own platform, RaeTheAI.com. Check it out. Rae at RaeTheAI on Instagram. Anyway, those are my thoughts. Let me know your thoughts. Make sure you follow, subscribe, all the above, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye. Peace. Kenim O signing out. Kenim O signing out.